Hello everyone, and welcome back to another mini game on the WoodyVille server. And this time we are going to be playing a game of King of the Hill. Now this is actually some very old footage, actually recorded back when I did that a batch recording of a lot of the mini games. And I can tell it's really old because since then the arena has received quite a bit of a facelift. Although the gameplay is still pretty much the same. So I guess I'll give that a quick explanation. So, King of the Hill is basically a variant of Capture the Flag. Where instead of the flags dying immediately there, but instead of the flags being at the team's spawn bases, they are at the two side buildings you can probably see there, and the capture zones are basically on the hill, but just behind where I am right now is one of them. You can probably see the other one just in front of me, sort of glowing there. So the game is basically King of the Hill, as there's a bit of an emphasis for being able to capture the hill and therefore get lots of easy captures without being challenged too much. And unlike Capture the Flag, where there are about 50 billion different classes, here we have a default and 3 other classes which in general follow a sort of a rock, paper, scissors style form of game. Although I'm not going to explain them too much, because the reason why this footage is so old is because I've watched it several times. And I've tried to think of something interesting that I couldn't say other than the fact that, hey, I just killed someone, or oh, I just died, or oh, look, we just captured another flag. And I just thought that would just be really boring. So instead, I decided to think of just a discussion topic instead that I could just talk about with the gameplay in the background. And it's probably a bit of a silly topic, but it is one that I guess can be a bit strange. But it is the strange way in which we use the word vanilla. So, what am I talking about here? Well, there are 2 ways in which the word vanilla can be used, and they're basically used to mean completely the opposite of each other. So let's look at the 2 definitions. So, first definition: vanilla is a flavouring derived from orchids of the genus vanilla. Don't know if I'm quite pronouncing that right, but I read that literally from Wikipedia. So, vanilla is a flavouring which you can add to things to give things a vanilla flavour. The second definition is more usually used in software, and it means to be completely unmodified. So now I'm sure you can see the thing. One meaning means to modify something with a flavour, the other meaning means to not modify something. So yeah, 2 completely opposite definitions. So why is this? This is a bit weird, and to show why this is weird, I shall give a really strange example. So I've got some milk. Let's pretend I've got some milk, and I'm going to make a vanilla milkshake by adding some vanilla flavouring to it. And also, let's say that I've also got my game of Minecraft, which is vanilla because it is unmodified. Now, if I was to add something to my vanilla game of Minecraft, it would no longer be considered vanilla. So let's pretend that my milk is the vanilla Minecraft, and now I'm going to add some vanilla flavouring to it. We could even pretend that's a mod that I'm adding to my Minecraft. So essentially, because I added vanilla to my vanilla milkshake is no longer vanilla. So my problem is that sentence, in the context that I gave, makes perfect sense. And my problem is I don't want it to make sense. I feel like that sentence shouldn't make sense. But it does, because I was able to give the full context. Right, and wow, Alex I'm sorry. Just interrupt for the gameplay just there. I was just amazed that Alex was being shot back there. That is an example of the rock, paper, scissors style of gameplay. Seeing the knight who is slow being completely knocked back by the archer who has knockback potential. I just thought that was amazing. Anyway, so back to the topic. So I suppose my next question should be not just why it makes sense. We know why it makes sense. What the sentence made sense. It's because the word vanilla has two meanings, so it can be used in two different ways. But why can it be used in two different ways? Of the two meanings, the flavour is far older than the default meaning. So where did the default meaning come about? So I'm not unprepared. I looked at Wikipedia again, and there is a stub article. Like, there is a tiny amount about just the general origin of the word vanilla, meaning plain and default. And what it says is it originated with ice cream and the flavour vanilla, which became widely and cheaply available with the development of the artificial vanillin flavour. And that's basically it. So, according to Wikipedia, because the cheapest ice cream available was vanilla, that basically meant when you got ice cream, you could basically expect it was going to be vanilla. And I suppose people started to associate that with it just being plain, normal, default, and basically unflavoured because it didn't have any special flavours. Because vanilla, because it was so common, was no longer a special flavour. In fact, to add to that, I'm going to tell a story. Okay, so it's about my dad. And so for the longest time, throughout his life, he was convinced that vanilla wasn't actually a flavour, and vanilla did actually just simply mean plain, unaltered, and default. And that is because you could not get anything that was not least described as vanilla. And that was basically the closest you could get to being plain. Of course, vanilla being somewhat of a subtler flavour than most others means that it is also probably the hardest to detect. In fact, the only way I was able to convince him that the vanilla flavour even existed is I actually had to do a blind taste test with a glass of milk and a milkshake, and to see whether he could actually taste the difference. He could, but only just. But we were able to prove that vanilla was real. Now, I also forgot to mention that the whole you couldn't find anything that wasn't labelled vanilla. I was talking about a time where he basically told me about when he was growing up. Now, I'm not going to mention any particular moment in time, but yes. So when my dad was growing up, that was basically the situation. Like, he used the example of custard. Like, you could not get flavoured custard. It would always be vanilla custard. So, assuming that this didn't just affect my dad, and this would have affected other people in a similar way, I guess we have basically solved the mystery. People would have seen all these vanilla flavourings, which, as we mentioned, it was the cheapest flavouring, and so the easiest to manufacture and just mass produce. So that was what everyone basically had, and therefore it was just considered to be the default and the plain, because people just probably didn't realise that vanilla was an actual flavour, leading to the word being adopted to mean unchanged and not different. So there we go. I suppose we've gone all the way in a circle and solved the mystery. Doesn't mean I have to like it though. Vanilla flavouring for the win. So games are about to wrap up. We've got like and it's actually over. Fortunately, it looks like we lost, but oh well. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one. I'll see you then.